Hello.
Hi.
Jim
and Carla.
And this is another episode of The Journey of Life, Love, and Lessons.
Yes, we are so glad you joined us today. And if you know someone that needs to hear an inspiring story, we have an inspiring guest here today. And so you can share with other people to let them know that, they can watch the replay on here to this page, The Journey of Life, Love, and Lessons. So that way we can inspire and impact others together. So I am going to read a little bit about Leslie, and that way we'll get to know her, and then we'll get to know more throughout this episode. So Leslie Cervantez. As we sat down with Leslie, an esteemed award-winning portrait photographer based in Houston, Texas, her remarkable journey from pain to purpose is an inspiring testament to the transformative power of embracing life's challenges. Emerging from the vibrant world of fine art, Leslie found herself on a healing journey 2 decades ago when her artistic pursuits began to reveal the depths of her inner struggles and brokenness, ultimately encountering the transformation presence of Jesus. This divine encounter marked a turning point in Leslie's life in artistic expression. Guided by years of prayer and spiritual insight, she discovered her true calling in helping women rediscover their innate beauty and wholeness. Leslie's lens captures not only external elegance, but also the radiant strength that resides within every woman. So she specializes in glamour photography for women, which intertwines seamlessly with her deep-rooted desire to empower women, allowing them to reclaim their sense of self and emerge from life's trials with newfound confidence. And she has also broke through barriers to unveil the radiant beauty of the human spirit, reminding us all that even in the midst of challenges, we have the power to emerge into greatness. So we welcome you, Leslie, to the show. Yes. And we're so excited to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited. Been looking forward to this.
Yeah, we have too.
Yeah, we love having a platform for people to be able to share their story of hope, transformation, their spiritual journeys that they've had. And so we are looking forward to all that you have to share with us and the viewers. And it gives them hope and freedom, to know that somebody has been through it. And then it gives them hope to know that they can get through it. So we're looking forward to hearing more of your story.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what has been the beginning part, like your transformation part of your journey? What has been the motivation that has put you on this path?
So I think the motivation that's put me on this path, is no doubt is the Holy Spirit, because I think the power that God has in his mercy and love for us is he just is relentless in wanting us to be his. And so the motivation just came from me not being able to escape his love, and so being able just to fall into his embrace and follow his voice and just go on this journey. And just it's almost like you don't know where you're going until you look backwards, right?
Right.
And so for me, there was so much that went on in my home life when I was younger, and growing up in like a dysfunctional family and things like that. There was a lot of things that I just thought were normal. And once I went into college and realized these things are not normal, that truth and that I guess that clash of okay, then what is right, what is wrong, started to come up, and I started questioning things like that. And when I went into art school, a lot of these feelings about like my insecurity and the way that I felt about myself came out through my artwork. And it was funny because at the time my instructors were like, oh, this is about, commercialism and how, people in the media use the feminine body and this and this and that. And it wasn't until later that I realized that, no, this is kind of how I see myself. It was very distorted and broken. And the thing that I found the most, I guess I don't want to say, the most uncomfortable was that so many women looked at the artwork and they could see a piece of themselves in there. There was like this deep connection. And what I felt was a lot of hurt and pain that would come from viewing this artwork. And that's when I started realizing when you have a platform and you have a voice, you also have a responsibility to what you're communicating out into the world. And what I realized was I was putting my pain out there, and okay, that was great and everything. It was healing for me. But what I realized was that there was no like good consequence. Like there was no good outcome that came out of it. I was just putting my pain out there. And so it was unveiling all this pain from, all these other women and men actually too. And I just realized I don't want to be known for that, and I had no idea that I had all of this untapped trauma and just all this stuff that I needed to work through. And I actually destroyed all of that artwork because it just was too raw for me to deal with at that point in my life. And once I did that, I started going to church classes and trying to find more about like my identity in Christ. Who am I? And the more that I was hearing that I'm loved, I was just rejecting it because I wasn't used to being loved, feeling loved. And I didn't see myself as somebody worthy of love. And it was a really hard journey for me. And I remember years of just crying and like, who is this person that wants to love me, and it was, I think that was kind of the catalyst into this self-discovery, that catapulted me into where I am today.
Right. And that's one thing I think about women, you attract, what you think about yourself. And a lot of people are like you're saying, they don't think they deserve happiness. You can love me because that's how we see ourselves. And we've, counseled with people who has that same identity. And it's sad because, there's so much in there that you can see someone else, like, oh my gosh, I can see you're just so gifted in this, or you're so beautiful. And they don't see that within themselves. And so their life is reflecting that negativity, just like you're saying, they don't see that they can have good things in life and they do deserve. And all of us have made mistakes and all of us have things, but like you're saying, you're familiar with that mindset. This is normal. Well, everybody's like this, right? And so then you just continue to repeat that negative cycle. And so it's a blessing, that they have, someone like you that can see the beauty outside, but you're also reaching into the beauty inside. And I'm sure, you've touched a lot of people, by, being the photographer, but also just sharing about your faith. Sometimes you don't have to say anything. They can feel it, they can see it, and they may, what is it about you? What's different? And so that's, a blessing, that you're out there, just helping them tap into that inner beauty.
Mm-hmm. It really is. It's such a joy for me to also provide a safe space for women to kind of tap into that side of them that maybe they've never seen before. I absolutely experienced that on the other side of the camera, and it is very eye-opening to see yourself in that light. Exactly.
No.
And sometimes the things you go through, you don't think it's just like, you were saying the life you lived, you're like, this is where everybody is.
Mm-hmm.
So other people are thinking the same way.
Right.
And when we share our stories, just like you have, and each of us have our own unique ways. And, you probably have seen, or maybe have people come to you and it's like, wow, I've been through exactly what you've been through, and I'm interested in photography too. And I felt like my artwork was terrible. And,
Mm-hmm.
but
worst critics.
Yeah.
We are our worst critics.
But you've made me feel better about what I'm doing, then it's okay.
Right.
Right.
And, and the impact that you have on people, we think we don't, but I mean, from what you're sharing, I say that you are having a lot of impact on people, in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because some people, I don't know a whole lot about photography, but, some people really get into it and it can be really impacting, and, because we say a picture's worth 1,000 words. in interpretation, what somebody may be going through. So the impact you're having is worth thousands of words to those around you. Sounds like they're.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Soon after I had my art show, and then I destroyed all of my work. It was a couple of years later that I got really sick, because just the stress of dealing with my past, it affected me. It affected me physically, and I ended up in the hospital on Good Friday, and it at the time I was such a baby in my faith that I had no idea, like, even what Holy Week was for Easter. And I ended up sleeping for 3 days. I woke up on Easter. And so I just, like, well, when I think about it and I reflect back at how Jesus allowed me to rest with him as he rested, from Good Friday to Easter, it's just amazing that healing that took place. And the nurses would wake me up, to give me my vitamins, check my vitals, all that fun stuff. And every time I looked up, there was like a little TV screen. I was in Germany, by the way, and because my husband was in the military at the time, and we every time I woke up, I kept seeing people kind of praying in a church, and I thought it was a show, or I didn't know what it was. And so finally on Easter, when I woke up, I asked the nurse what that was, and she said, "Oh, there's a chapel downstairs." And at that point, I was paralyzed on my left vocal cord. I wasn't able to talk. The left side of my body had shut down, and so I was mobile, but I wasn't able to walk very fast and things like that. So somehow I made it downstairs. I think I was on the 6th floor or something, and I made it all the way down past the hospital lobby and things like that. And I went to go sit down, and I felt this nun sit next to me. She was a very young nun at the time. And again, I was still such a baby in my faith, but I could feel her praying for me. Like, I felt her concern for me. And then, so when you're kneeling, I was kind of like halfway kneeling because I was sick, and I felt really weak. And so I was kind of sitting on the pew, but then had my knees. So I wasn't completely, submissive in my kneeling. And I wasn't all the way in. And there was this, I always call her Mother Superior, like from The Sound of Music, the older one that just, like, it's just everybody's scared of her. And so she, like, comes storming towards me, and her rosary's like swinging back and forth, and like, and she's yelling at me in German. She's saying, "Knees, knees, like, get on your knees."
Oh, wow.
And I didn't even think twice about it. Like, just sometimes I'm in awe of, like, how obedient I was in that moment. And I just, went, and I completely committed to being on my knees. And I just remember thinking, like, Lord, this thing that I'm carrying is not meant for me. And I can't figure this out. It's too much. I'm overwhelmed. I'm stressed. I'm hurting. I'm in pain. Like, please just take it from me.
Right.
And he did, in a couple of seconds, like, my life flashed before my eyes. Every painful memory that I felt alone when I was being hurt or anything like that, just in full color, just it was so fast. And my whole life flashed before my eyes. And it was just amazing. Physically, this weight just came off. And I walked back to my room fine, and my kids were up there waiting for me. They were kind of worried, like, "Where were you?" I was like, I feel great. I don't even know I'm in the hospital. I mean, of course I couldn't talk, but I was playing with them and everything. And then I ended up spending 8 days in the hospital, and they ran so many painful tests, and couldn't find anything wrong with me. So finally sent me home, and I just started healing, and I went through vocal therapy twice a week for a year. And then finally my voice came back, and on my birthday, which was amazing. And it was such a humbling experience to see how Jesus like loved me so much that he allowed me to encounter his passion with him and walk with him and rest with him. And then in that whole next year, just to silence me to continue loving me, through this process. And I mean, what do you do after that? Your life is just completely changed,
It's changed.
Yeah, it's completely changed. And so as I grew in my photography, I moved out of the fine art realm into portraiture and weddings and things like that. And after shooting weddings for a decade, I realized the fulfillment wasn't really there. And so I kind of tapped into that early artwork of, photographing the female figure and things like that and turned it into portraiture. But this time it was about photographing the soul, connecting women with themselves, and just really having that that happy ending or even that happy beginning for women who maybe have never felt that way about themselves before, and then realize, wow, I am a gift to myself. I'm a gift to those around me.
Right.
This is what I have to offer the world. Because like you said, and I was the same way, people could tell me, oh, you're beautiful, you have this, you're so
Mhm.
gifted in this. And I'm just like, yeah, you're my friend, or you're, tell me that. Like,
Supposed to say this.
you don't hear it, you don't see it. But when it's you looking at yourself,
Right.
there's no way you can deny your beauty, and you see your gifts, and it's like you said, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but it's you telling yourself and looking yourself in the eyes and going, see, you are beautiful, you are this, like. And then to be able to keep that as a just an heirloom, to be able to, like, on your bad days, pull those photos out, and remind yourself of who you are and who you were created to be, whose image you were created in. And it's so powerful. It's very vulnerable, I think, our photo shoots, because there's a lot of things that you just have to kind of let go, and so we have a really amazing team here who tries to bring out the most authentic part of each woman.
Yeah.
So those pictures, I mean, like the ones you did in the beginning, they had the impact on you. But then, did you feel like there was, that was being your hurt you was giving out? Was that right? The hurts of your life and experiences you was giving out. So you wanted something. It sounded like you wanted something more than that, so you destroyed that and had a healing process to it. Now, the pictures you take now, how impacting are they to you in comparison to the first ones you took?
So the difference was, again, it's in when you have a platform and you're communicating, it's what is your message. And my message before was, here's my pain, here's the ugliness of what's inside of me, and it would bring out that pain in others. Now I'm able to connect with women to see their inner beauty, to see their outer beauty, to show them what a gift they are, and have them receive, honestly, God's love and how he sees them. That's such a whole different message than what I was putting out before. And this is something that they can carry with them and build from, versus the other thing. It kind of was like, okay, here's your pain. Didn't really give any answers. It didn't give, like, here's how you can get better, anything like that. And this is so much more gentle and powerful and impactful on women's lives.
Right.
And going through that, and like I was saying a while ago, you've been through that experience of hurting.
Right.
And then you like, a lot of times when we've been through things in our lives and we hurt, and it's like, can we get past this? Is this, is this the way life is going to be?
Right.
Then you've had your healing process, physically healing, for a year or so there, it sounds like.
Right.
And coming to this part where you're having such, while there is things greater, there's, God in my life, and how, the answer of anything I could ever ask for.
Right.
And so, do you share? I mean, I bet you people can see, with what you're sharing with us right now. I can just, I'm thinking, you've been through this hurt before and you think there's nothing better. And then you had all the stress and everything, and then you heal from that. From now, you're seeing there's so much even greater than I even thought that possible.
Yes.
and and be able to live through that and convey that to people. I mean, that's probably got to be pretty, humbling, but it also, I would be the right word to use. be able to touch people and understand where they're at.
Right.
Right.
I could just see that, and that'd be a great, possible, great way to minister to people, in a more of a in photography. And I don't know if you say a threatened way, because some people say, "Oh, we're going to church or God, whatever," but then you're having the pictures, of what God's beauty, and bringing out the beauty in, people, men or women, that they don't realize they have within them. When you take that picture, it's like worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
How many people have looked at their pictures that you've taken? They're like, wow, I never saw that within me.
Oh, almost every time. Every woman says I'm not photogenic. They say I've never taken a good picture of myself. I don't like being in front of the camera. And I just ask them to trust me, trust our team. And there are definitely tears during the session, tears once they see their photos. They're just in awe of themselves, And again, we don't try to make them look overly, dramatic. Like the makeup isn't overly dramatic or anything like that. We just try to bring out their natural features and photograph them in a way that's very natural and still artistic and beautiful and classic, timeless, those types of things. And just to see their eyes light up and connect and go, oh, and that's me, and that's me, and that's me. Because we try to do different, expressions and things like that. And just witnessing them falling in love with themselves. Right. That's the reward. Yeah. For me. Yeah.
I mean, that would be absolutely amazing, just to be in that presence of someone who started out at the beginning of sessions, like, I'm feeling awkward, or I feel like, I get this side of me, this is the best side, or whatever it is, but then by the end of the session, I mean, like you're saying, they're falling in love with themselves. And I believe, God has, if we could see ourselves through God's eyes, because he sees our heart and he sees the beauty within us, even though sometimes we may be afraid to show it to other people, or this is expected of me. Well, this, was told to me how I look. And that's what they develop as their identity. And that's what carries on in their life, that they portray out to other people what they've been told, or what they compared themselves to other women. And it's like, I always say comparison, it's just, it's the death of your goals and your dreams and your greatness, because you're not supposed to compare yourself to someone else. But so many women, that's just a natural, look how she looks, she looks gorgeous, but they don't see what's inside of that woman, her struggles. Mm-hmm. They could be beautiful on the outside, but until they see that they have the struggles and they deal with that, then that's when the true beauty, I think, is unveiled in their life.
It really is. And even having that confidence brings forth that beauty. And I do pray for my clients when they come in, that I just pray, Lord, let me be a vessel to show them how you see them. Like, let them see themselves in your eyes, because it doesn't matter how I see them. It's just, I want them to see who they were created to be. And so that's my prayer, is that they're able to see that, because I'm not anybody, I'm just somebody with a camera, but to be able to be that vessel, that instrument to share God's vision and God's love and God's creation with them, like that is something they'll keep forever.
Yeah. And God wants us to have a willing vessel. I don't care if it's a camera, or if it's a microphone, whatever it is, if you're willing to let God use your tool, your giftings and talents that he's given within you, then, I mean, he takes care of the rest. It's up to us just to do our part, and he takes care of the rest. Just like you pray for, let me be a vessel, so they can see the true beauty within them. And that's exactly what's happening. Sounds like, the people come in, they are changed from the beginning of the first photograph that you take to the last. It is transformation in their life. And then you're transferring that beauty, that goodness not only in their life, but it's going to reflect and ripple effect, in the
Really?
relationships, the work, their interactions with people, the thoughts of themselves, is changed because of just that session with you. And that's just, it's amazing in itself, and not to be taken lightly, because it's not just taking pictures, but you're actually doing a ministry there, and God is using you through that.
Yes, I believe that. And it's always a hard part for me because I feel like I do more ministry than work but but it is so beautiful to see women after their photo shoot months later finally opening their dream, maybe them, like I had somebody who wanted to open up a yoga studio, and she finally did after her portraits, and she wrote me and she was like, oh, it was just the boost that I needed in myself. Or maybe somebody who was recently divorced, who was feeling really badly about herself and just started crossing off things off her bucket list to go and travel and do things on herself. And just watching women thrive and living their life to the fullest, because now they give themselves permission to do so, because they realize that life is precious, that they're precious. I mean, that's just it is really fun to watch.
Yes, I imagine. That'd be great.
And I was just gonna say, the women you're touching, I mean, have you seen people that remind you of you from where you went through in your life? And the pictures you're saying has helped seeing and things, but have you seen people come through and they're like, I was there too. You remind me of me.
Every single time. And on my website, I tell a story of because I did not have confidence, and I really thought that I looked like a troll under the bridge, and like I just had this horrible perception of myself, and I was very I had like immune disorders in my 30s, and so I always felt like I would say I was an 80-year-old trapped in a 30-year-old body. Like I was just so I just knew my life was over. It was just like, I guess this is what life is going to be, and I just volunteered everywhere and ran myself tired, and put everybody else first before me. And I had to do headshots for my business, and I did not want to. I thought, oh, this is going to be hideous. I'm going to look horrible. Like I'm so old. Who wants? It just everything that women, yes, everything that women tell me. I'm overweight. I'm this. I'm blah blah blah. I'm not as young as I used to be. I just all the things that we say to ourselves. I see that in every woman that walks through my door, and then to see them once they see themselves, and I know exactly what they're going through, because when I saw my headshots, I thought, oh, okay. Wait, is that me? I didn't realize that I had that potential to look that way. And so it changed the way that I carried myself. It changed the way that I presented myself, because I realized, oh, if I can look this way, but I'm running around in sweatpants and like a hair bun and not really putting any effort into myself. Like these were supposed to be my good years, I need to start, capitalizing on my youth and not thinking that I'm 80 years old and things like that. And now I want to carry this on into my 80s if I, God willing, I live that long. And and it really changed how I wanted to present myself and carry myself, because I just didn't know I had that potential to look the way that I did. And it's not something out of vanity or being conceited or anything like that. It was the opposite, because I had such low self-esteem, and I had such a negative outlook on my appearance and my worth and things like that, that it just allowed me that permission to say, hey, take care of yourself. You are beautiful, you are doing all these things for your family and your children and things like that. And it changed like my ability to be present with my family, right? Because I wasn't trying to hide behind the backgrounds and things like that, and put myself out there more and be out there more with them and things like that. And yeah, it really does change. And I think too, that's why a lot of women don't want to take their picture with me, because they're not ready for that. But once they are ready, it's game on.
Yeah.
they're ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And, kind of like you talk about sweatpants and all that stuff as moms, sometimes, like, well, I have kids, so I just need to throw on something and, have your hair up in a bun and sweatpants. There's nothing wrong with that. But, they forget that they're beautiful, and they can clean up. We
Yes.
can look nice, we look good for our spouse. They don't want to see us in sweatpants and buns all every single day of their life because they married someone who was beautiful to them. And so
Exactly.
to remind them of that, just because, life does happen. I mean, we do have to clean and we do have kids and we do have routines and schedules that we got to keep, but we can still, bring out the best in the way we are and the way we look, to become appealing because, a lot of people are visual. So, I mean, to have that appearance and it kind of could draw the people that God wants you to minister, just like you have that stuff inside of you, the struggles and, the self-doubt and all that stuff, low confidence, but you experience that, but now you're bringing out that in other people. So sometimes they don't realize what they have within them is being neglected,
Right.
So
Right.
it is the very thing that's within them that they need to become aware of. I have this gifting, I have this talent, well, I have this beauty, and everybody's beautiful in their own way. I mean, you don't have to look a certain way. The beauty comes from within. I think someone who, don't have to be the most gorgeous person in the world, but they can be so attractive, because of that smile, because of that kindness that they have. And that's, amazing that you've seen that in your own self. Like, wow, look at me. I look like this. And it made you realize that I can enjoy the best years of your life, as you say, but, you're still young. You still have many more years to go. But, it helps them to realize, just
Right.
like it did you, it helps them to realize that they have, so much potential, so much greatness within them that's still ahead for them.
Right. And I think it's so important you touched on that there is nothing wrong with sweatpants and being, because, when you're vacuuming up Cheerios for the 20th time and you're picking up Legos for the, you're cleaning toilets, you're doing all the things, like you're not going to be wearing heels during all of that, right?
No.
I think for me, I got stuck in that. And that was 100% how I stayed, in the sweatpants. Right. I just never broke out of that. And so the danger in that is that becomes your identity.
Right.
And and being stuck in that mode, you're thinking, or at least for me, I was thinking, this is all I'm worth right now. I'm not worth getting dressed up for. I'm not worth, and why? Because I'm just going to be cleaning up again and getting sweaty and this and that and the same old routine. And it becomes part of your not only your identity, but like it just keeps feeding into you, right? And it becomes who you think you are, and you lose touch. Or I shouldn't say you, but for me personally, I'm sure a lot of other women identify, but maybe not all, is I lost touch with who I was as a person. Right. I lost touch with who I was as a woman, right, as a mom, as a wife. And that's not healthy.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
It's true. Yeah. I mean, it takes us sometimes to have that awareness and just be intentional about it. Because, like you say, we get caught up in that identity. Well, I'm a mom now, so this is my life. This is how I need to look. It's like, that's not true. That may be part of your life, right? But it's not all your life. It's not the identity. It's not your ministry. It's not the giftings and talents, but that is part of your life. So when we become aware that there's more to us than, just, doing the mom thing or doing the wife thing or doing, the work, whatever it is, there's a whole person that needs to come out and to understand that we have to be aware intentionally to have that keep coming out, or we will get stuck, like you're saying, and that identity will be stuck in one area when there's so much more to that woman that is, screaming to come out. They have desires, they have dreams, but they think they have to neglect them because now I'm a mom or now I'm married. And so it's like, no, you are a person, and God has created you for a reason that nobody else can do. And so when we realize that, then I think that's when a woman can just begin to flourish.
Absolutely. Yeah. I try to stay away from the word empower, but I love flourish. Yeah. because that's what really is. It's they're blossoming into that woman that they're
Right.
becoming. And
Right.
for me, I feel like this is just the beginning of their journey when they see
Right.
the potential, and then just being able to watch them grow through the years. It's, it's just really, it's really a beautiful thing to see.
Right. And do you have the women like, they may do one session, then they'll come back later and you kind of get photographed again, and that way you can see the growth, or maybe they've connected back with you to see how the life has changed just from, they think I'm just going in for a photo session. Then they didn't realize, oh no, Jesus is here, right? He's going to be touching you.
Yeah, yeah. I started doing this about 4 or 5 years ago. So I don't think I feel like this is something that maybe women would do every decade, So I haven't gotten to that point. I have done a few repeats, but it hasn't been such a long time in between to kind of see that growth yet. But I am excited for that part.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, with women, and with you're talking about not seeing where they're at, sometimes the pictures, the impact it's having on them. And I'm just thinking of the younger generation, the younger women, the
Right.
peer pressure to have a social
Right.
media and how they image themselves.
Right.
Do you have younger women, and they're probably in their late teens, early 20s, something like that comes in because of their, the pure pressure of the media.
Right.
You're supposed to look this way, have this appearance, act this way.
Right.
I do. So I also photograph high school seniors and then do some college senior graduates. And it's such a critical point in their lives, right? Because they're ending something big and starting something new. And I think especially for seniors, they don't really see themselves that way yet. Although a lot of these girls, hey, they have all these makeup tutorials that they can do their makeup amazing. And we didn't have that growing up. We didn't have YouTube and like makeup tutorials. I mean, it was mascara and lipstick, and now they know how to do it all. And, but with that being said, not a lot of them do. And especially the ones that come into the studio, when they see themselves, they can't stop looking in the mirror because it's so sweet to see them experiencing their beauty that way. Because when we see people in Hollywood, of course they're gorgeous people, but they also have a team of stylists that help them with their hair and things like that. So what you're seeing are people at their physical beauty best, right? And a lot of us don't get the chance to have a team like that. And when they receive that type of treatment, and they get their hair and their makeup and things like that, I mean, there is no comparison. They're just looking themselves in the eyes. They can't get over themselves. They're loving it. And even for the women, the thing that gets said every single time to my stylist is, can you do this for me every day?
Come live with me every morning.
Yes, every morning, come do this. And so sometimes they'll go and they'll connect back with their stylist, for major events and things like that. But it does change because the way we present ourselves every day is, we don't have that gift. Not all of us have that gift for hair and makeup and things like that. Some people do. And those who have that gift can treat themselves to it as much as they want. But for those of us who don't, being able to see yourself in such a professional way, it really does make you realize, wow, because the way they do it, it really brings out your natural features and characteristics. And when you see yourself that way, then you won't compare yourself, and you can hold on to that, because that's yours, Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, the impact that you're having on, especially younger ones like that.
Mm-hmm.
And coming in close to the end of the show here, and just want to, there are some photographers that maybe inspired you in your life, and, and who that might be and how, and also, the things that you're doing. I bet you there's quite a few people that would be interested in probably connecting with you, and, how could they get, connected to you, and, and have their picture taken and see themselves in a different light.
I have a website. It's www.lesliecervantez.com, or I'm also on Instagram, Leslie Cervantez Photography. You can just look me up and connect with me. Those are probably the best ways to reach out to me. And what was your other question? I can't remember.
Because you're doing photography. If there was somebody that inspired you.
Yeah, so there is a photographer. Her name is Cindy Sherman, and she did self-portraits of herself as all these different characters, right? And then women photographers like Annie Leibovitz, who is just amazing at capturing people's souls, and photographers like Brooke Shaden, who just the way that she sees stories and is able to bring out telling different stories in her own self-portraits. I think it's a combination of, on top of like Henry Cartier-Bresson, and like just being able to capture those moments and that emotion. I think it's a kind of a combination of all of that. It's that self-discovery of Cindy Sherman. It's that, artistic, because I love to create a fine art look. And so creating the set and the tone and the mood of, capturing individual personalities, and still creating artwork from people. And but then also being able to tell somebody's story, but then also capturing their soul. I think just all these different photographers that I have loved and adored their work have, maybe, I guess I never really thought about that, but they've really like kind of come into not only changing my life and who I was in my journey as a photographer, but I can kind of see how they've touched and molded my journey, as to what I create.
Yeah, that's good to have those people that feed into you, whether they realize it or not. I said we have digital mentors too, and they may never meet you, but they still influenced your life, right?
Sure.
So, as I said, we're getting close to the end of the episode. Is there any words of wisdom you'd like to share, with women to help them to know that they have greatness within them, to have that great identity that God has placed there?
I think, gosh, I mean, the biggest thing that comes to me is I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I think when we humble ourselves, I pray almost every day, Lord, just empty me of myself. Like and even on my personal Instagram, I call it less of me. I just want to be less of myself and more of him, because the more that we can present ourselves and our weaknesses, then Christ shows up as our strength, and those weaknesses become our strengths. And I think that's kind of the beauty of the portrait sessions, is like you come humble, you come, empty, and then let God fill those spots in you. And then through that, your strength comes out. And then the consequence, or the reward of that, is just finding that strength that was in you the whole time, And so just having that courage to be vulnerable, to empty ourselves, and to let Christ fill those holes in those spaces that are needed. I think that's the only thing I can think of right now.
That's really good. That's really good. And we have appreciate you being here, and you are beautiful inside and out. It does show from the inside out that you have a heart, to serve God, and to also just to uplift, and to help other women to be all that God has for them. And so that shows, all over you. Every time you speak, every time we connect, that shines through. So it's not just something you do every once in a while, just when the camera's showing, but that is your heart, and I appreciate that you're sharing your story with us, and that you took the time to be able to instill this inspiration of hope, the freedom, and the God identity, that we're to each have. And that's men, some men go through the same thing, but a lot of women deal with that too. And so a blessing, for all that you're doing. So we thank you so much for being here and being a part of our show, The Journey of Life, Love, and Lessons.
Yes, I'm very, grateful we both are that you being
Yes.
here and to share your stories and
Yes.
stuff, and it's been impactful to me. I know probably you
Oh,
too.
absolutely. Yeah.
And the impact that you're having to so many other people. That's awesome to see.
Yes.
That how you're touching people, and
Yes.
how many more people you will be touching.
Yeah. Yeah. The best is yet to come, right? There's still
Yeah.
more to go. So more women to get out there and help them to be their best. So
Absolutely. And I thank you guys for allowing me to share my story. I feel like the more I tell it, the more I understand it's, speaking things out loud and standing firm in that truth. Because even sometimes I get sidetracked and I think, am I really doing the right thing? It's really worth it. It's because, owning your own business is not always easy. There's definitely the ups and downs, and like at least once a week I want to quit and things like that.
right.
So being able to reconnect with my why and share my story, it motivates me all over again. So I appreciate you having me here. It really truly means a lot.
My pleasure. It's like, if you need the encouragement that once a week, just let me know. I'm right here for you. I'll cheer you on because you got this.
I love it. Thank you so much.
And we'll see everyone there for the next week. We'll get back to you next week for
Right.
another episode.
Yep. Talk soon.